Good afternoon. I'll start by representing myself. My name is Athir Tebuk. I'm a graduate from the University of Michigan, Dearborn, majoring in microbiology and biological science. My presentation is going to be a little bit less scientifically condensed, like less science, but hopefully fun. So as I said, I graduated from the University of Michigan, Dearborn. I was majoring in microbiology. I was focusing on the research of medical and environmental microbiology. I also was double majoring in biology, so I had some research in the environment section of biology. I would like to focus on two of my research, which is studying the Staphylococcus aureus bacteria on the skin and its interaction with the immune system, as well as the ecological history of a 250-year-old tree called the Broke tree, and its history with the natural habitat in Michigan, where I was studying. I focused on these two research because they were the start, or they were the guidance to my path. I moved from being a research, or basically research-based student, and I merged into business or entrepreneurship. So one day I asked the professor who was responsible for me, I asked him if I can do an independent research in the benefits of the leaves of the Broke tree. So of course, he asked me to start off by doing some reading and some background search. And then I realized that this tree is actually very, very common in the area where I was studying, and it wasn't very interesting. And I decided to do frankincense instead. So I told him, like, I want to do some extraction, oil extraction, anything that I can start with in the frankincense. Until that point, I really didn't know the benefits of frankincense. I just knew that Oman was very famous, or we were very famous by the frankincense. And as a Dhafarist from Dhafar, of course, I went to the USA and brought a lot of frankincense with me for the bukhur. And I brought like around 3 kilograms, and that's all what I used in the laboratory. So I started off by doing some steam distillation. I ended up having around 200 milliliters of frankincense. Because I'm a microbiology, I was majoring in microbiology, I used it in antibacterial tests in some types of bacteria, starting off with Staphylococcus aureus, E. coli, Bacillus, and many of the very common bacteria. So by the end of the semester, I ended up having in my hand 150 milliliters, where I can do whatever I want with. And because I was already so much into skincare, so I wanted to use it on myself, and whether mix it with other ingredients, use it on my skin. But instead, I started joining workshops in making skincare products, such as soap, moisturizers, and I was still in the USA. So when I went to the first workshop, it was presented by a trainer who is an expert in aromatherapy. So she knows a lot about essential oils. And she was very careful in handing us the frankincense. She has some frankincense oil. She allowed us to use all the frankincense she has, jasmine, sandalwood, orange, all the essential oils she had. She allowed it to use except for the frankincense. So I asked her why. Like, I have my own, but why not using yours? She was very careful because it was very expensive for her. And then I told her, like, I came from Oman, I have a lot of we have frankincense there, we have a lot, I brought some with me. And then she told me that from her base knowledge, that 99% of the benefits in the frankincense oil actually can be found in all the other essential oils. So frankincense is it's very rich in benefits. And that was the point where I realized that I'm missing a lot about the frankincense. Like we grew it, we literally have one at home, but I never thought about it that way. And then I started learning about it, reading, doing some laboratory research. It wasn't really a condensed research, it was just as a hobby. I was allowed to go to the laboratory whenever I want. So, and then from there, I moved from the research to making skincare products, and that's where my company, Lbania, started. So in this paper or research presentation, I will give you the customer view of using the skincare products, in specific the natural skincare, because coming from a scientific background and pharmacy and medicine, we always know the scientific benefits of everything we give to our customers. But me as a business owner, I didn't come to my customers as a scientist or some scientific background. I come to them as a seller, like I sell my products to them. But I contact my customers. I contact every single one of them, every 3,000 customers. So I contact them, I know their feedback, I know a little bit about their experience with other medicines or creams or anything that they have used. So I'm always surprised when they tell me this. I have tried everything and nothing works. They always tell me this, whether for pimples, whether for rash, whether for simple problems. They say, I have tried everything and nothing works. It doesn't really make sense. I'm sure they didn't try anything, but maybe they didn't try the right thing. So dealing with these customers, and they're from all over the country, specific in Oman. I have so many customers in Salalah, Muscat, Suhar, Nazwa, Ibri, Ansur. These are the main cities where I have a lot of customers from. So I started to notice a pattern in the skin problems that they come to me with. Of course, pimples is the #1 problem. Basically, the simple problems on the skin. But then I started to realize even more and harder problems, such as eczema, such as, I don't know, it's like chronic sensitivity and stuff like that. So I know that the people in Muscat, these are the most customers who actually suffer from eczema. Like almost every customer comes from Muscat, they must have eczema. So they come to me in that matter. So my type of business is, what I'm doing is I'm 50% science, 50% pure business. So in order for me to come up with a product that's actually going to help my customers, I must know the foundation of the problem. Like what is the problem? So let's talk about pimples, which is like the basic or the easiest problem to solve. It's sebum and dead skin accumulation in the pores of the skin. So in order to give them the correct product, I need something to remove the sebum or to break down the dirty oils and stuff. And if that pimples accumulated some bacterial infection, it will become inflamed. So I just use simple remedies for that. And I'm always lucky to have some customers to believe in me and trust me to try it and then give me their feedback. Another problem that I noticed, this is specifically in Salalah. Like most of my customers from Salalah, they are suffering from melasma. So melasma is temporary, but it could turn to be chronic if you don't take care of it earlier. So melasma can be because of some hormones. Waxing, for example, removing the hair can shock the body and then it turns into protection mode, so it produces more melanin. Sun and chemicals that are found in cosmetics and skincare products can also lead to melasma. So why do people still believe that natural remedy works? Like medicine and pharmacy has gone so far by now. There have been, as we say, like there are centers all over the world. There are organizations that have took science into a very large, like high level. So why do people still want to go back to natural? So there's a lot of reasons, but one of them, which is the very common one, that it's a tradition. They are used to it. They have seen it by their eyes, how it works. They heard it from other people. They learned it from their parents. So it's just a matter of common knowledge. Besides that, there are people who are actually using it and proving it works. But this is not enough to prove it in a scientific way. Like in order to prove it scientifically, you have to take it and test it. But just hearing it from other people is not enough. So this is what the customer see when they look at your product. If it's, for example, turmeric soap, they see turmeric. If it's like coffee, it's just coffee. But me, as a business owner who has a scientific background, I look at it in a different way. So turmeric is actually an antioxidant. Coffee, for example, anti-pigmentation. Lemon is very condensed with vitamin C. So this is how I choose my ingredients, and this is how I choose it for the specific skin type or skin problem. So people have and still are using some natural plants from the outside the world. One of the very famous trees we have in Dhofar is Anagenesis dhofarica. I just wanted to have a small spotlight on this because people are still using it until now, especially females. So they use it whether directly on the skin to heal the wounds and as an antibacterial, or they boil it and they actually wash their body with the water of the tree, of the mix, and then it helps in healing the wound and it helps in antiseptic way. Of course, another tree, and that's the #1 tree, is the frankincense. I'm not going into details because Dr. Luay has done a great job explaining it, but I'm just going to focus on the beauty benefits of the frankincense. Frankincense is well known as an anti-aging. It reduces wrinkles. This is a common knowledge among women. It's collagen. People always look for collagen. So it's a natural substitution for collagen, but it's not enough to substitute all your collagen. So it's good for reduces wrinkles. It's a perfect antibacterial, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-pigmentation. I want to mention that frankincense is a good antibacterial in so many of its forms, not just the oil itself. Like you can actually use the frankincense honey, and it's a great antibacterial. Frankincense resin, frankincense oil, frankincense water, but so it all works as antibacterial. So going back to my business or Lubaniya, I use all the forms of frankincense, whether the essential oil, the pure essential oil, the water, the fresh resin, or the leftover resin, and also the honey and the leaves. I use all the forms of frankincense, and then I use them based on what is the appropriate product for this type of form. For example, essential oil goes into almost all the products, such as the soap, moisturizers, scrubs. The resin, the fresh resin goes into the scrubs, because the difference between them is that the fresh resin contains everything. Contains the good and the waste and everything. But the leftover, I never believe that there is 100% extraction. There is always something left in it. So it's not going to be very perfect to use it on your skin as a healing ingredient or something, but I use it for its physical form. So it works perfectly as a substitution for honey wax. I use it to solidify things, solidify the moisturizer, solidify the ingredient, the products that I use, instead of using wax. This way, it's 100% frankincense product. So from there, I started, I made my other product. So this is the frankincense soap. See, all of this information I gained by contacting all these 3,000 customers. So I noticed, or I learned that the soaps are perfect for pimples, scars, blackheads. Also, there's other problems, but these are the most common ones. And if you can see, there's different colors of the soap. The coloring, the scents, and the texture of the soap has no additives. It's the ingredients themselves. They give it the color, they give it the smell. So, for example, the yellow is frankincense with turmeric. The white is pure frankincense. That's coffee and charcoal. So they're good for specific skin type and specific skin problem. Another product that is well sold at the moment, it's a frankincense scrub. So if you can see, there's 3 types because I add charcoal, sandalwood, turmeric. They're perfect for skin marks, stretch marks, body pimples, and scars. So the last 2 products I want to talk about is my moisturizers. This is 100% pure frankincense moisturizer. There is no additives of other ingredients in it. So people still ask me, how is it in this like texture? What does it look like a butter? Because I use the leftover resin. So I use the leftover resin, I use the oil, I use the honey, and I use the oil itself and the water. So in a specific, or I came up with a specific way of how to mix them together, specific temperature, amount. This has been going over a year. So by now I already have it, like it's a standard for me of how to make it. It has proven to reduce wrinkles, dark circles, melasma, but not a very old melasma. Let's say like it's been like 3-4 months old melasma. It removes it. Pores, it shrinks and removes, shrinks the pores. For the pure frankincense. The other one is the pure frankincense eczema moisturizer. See, there is always a conflict with the name of this product, because eczema is actually a medical issue, and this is not a medical treatment. They're all skincare products, so they are just for your daily, or substitution for your daily use products. So when I started, let me tell you the story, because I was still in the USA, and I came back around for a summer break in 2016, and I was surprised to find my niece having eczema all over her body. Until that point, I really didn't know what is eczema in dense. I just knew it's a skin problem. And then I started using my scientific research, going back to the library and learning about it in specific details. What actually made me do something about it is because my sister, she was giving a very harsh medicine to her daughter. So that really made me upset. Like, she's very young to take all these medicines, where I can see other eczema patients who are not taking this amount of medicines. So that's when I started making the product based on my scientific research. So I started off by looking for all the anti-inflammatory ingredients that are out there, of course all natural. I found coconut, I found, of course, frankincense. I found a lot of them, aloe vera and lavender, honey, there's a lot of them. And then I shrink them down to, first of all, what is available right now to me. And then among the ones that I have, I looked at them. Like, I looked actually to their components, like their chemical components. And then I started making the product. I gave it to volunteers for about 1 month. And then they came back with the results, and they were very informative. Like, all the feedbacks were very informative. Like, they told me they have tried other medicine, they have tried other lotions and creams.
10 minutes.
For example, this cream worked because it contains cortisone. This one worked because it contains antibiotics, and so on. So from their information, I started looking up cortisone. And I started to focus, what is a cortisone? How does it work on the body? Why is it beneficial? And there's a lot of cases when they told me that cortisone works for like a year and then it stops. And then there's sometimes a reverse reaction to it. So I started looking at it. I started looking for natural substitution for the cortisone. And then this was my final product. I wanted to mention, like, just simple information that a lot of people don't know. Eczema is not just the rash itself. Like, there's 7 types or even more types of eczema. There's not always a cause for it. It can start from the younger age and then it disappears, or it can just grow with you, or it just disappears and come back. So most of the common eczema that I faced was triggered by food, especially nuts, chicken, fish, banana, dairy. These are the ones that are always common. The other type is the weather. So the people who suffer from eczema, let's say occasional eczema that comes and go, most of them are from Salalah. Like, most of them. I would say around 500 of these customers, they are from Salalah. They tell me, like, the season of Kharif, the eczema comes back. It disappears after the season is gone. Some of them the opposite. In the winter it comes back, and so on. So my initial explanation would be that because it's more humid during the Kharif, maybe that's one of the reasons, or maybe there's other reasons. And of course, eczema could be genetically, and there could be a combination of genetic and environmental factors that results in it. So when I looked at my niece, and I considered her a case. I mentioned that I did the research, and then I did the production for the product, and then I started doing I started selling it as a luxury product, not as a medical, not as like it's gonna treat anything, just as a medical, as a beauty product. I was focusing more on moisturizing. I was focusing more on moisturizing, but also healing the breakage between the skin cells, because there's a lot of cases in that. So, and then I learned from my customers that there is so many other benefits for this product. I want to note that it's a natural substitution for chemical-contained lotions and creams, so it's not a medical treatment. From these 3,000 customers, 1,500 were my eczema cases. They aged from 7-month-old into 51 years old in so many different types of eczema. The ones who used it have different sensitivity. Maybe they don't have eczema, but they have a sensitive skin. They have some rash. They have suddenly like redness in their body, and they don't know the reason. And all of skin type tried it. And here is some examples from my customers. This is one of the customers who told me she tried everything and nothing works. So this was literally one day between the two pictures. So after a week, even the redness on the second picture disappeared 100%. And this is another example. She took it just, she doesn't know why, I don't even know what happened to her hand, but she used it and it worked on her. So these are some of the examples that I gained from customers. So my eczema moisturizer is 75% frankincense, 25% coconut oil, honey, lavender, and 2 other ingredients. The benefits that I learned is it reduces itchiness, anti-inflammation, reduces acne, increases cell regeneration, because I noticed a lot of the eczema patients, they always like scratch their hands or their body, and sometimes they tell me like it's nothing, like they don't feel it's inflamed or anything, but it's always because of the dead skin. So when they scratch and the dead skin is gone, the itchiness disappears. So when they used this moisturizer, the dead skin was removed very quickly, and it was regenerated. It also reduces scar and demoisturizing. So other luxurious benefits, it's used as a makeup stabilizer and remover. So it's a good natural substitution for the chemicals that are used. And some of them use it as deodorant and lip balm. So this is, here is where you can find these products. In Salalah, there is a small store in Shara al-Salam where I sell it. I have some people in Abu Dhabi, in Muscat, and Sur. So it's currently in 2 pharmacies, one in Muscat, the Medical Dictionary Pharmacy in Panorama Mall, and by this week it's going to be in a Duha Pharmacy here in Salalah. Thank you so much.